Hello, my name is Alec and I'll be doing the Group 6 Artifact Review. So what we accomplished this sprint was pretty much everything in our sprint goal. The only thing that we'll be rolling over is some touch-ups on the algorithm. So there's a function there, but it does need a little bit of touching up. Everything else has been completed and I will show you how it has been. So looking at how this is all going to work out, we have our two data sources which are connected to DynamoDB and ultimately triggered to give DynamoDB data. It is converted from relational databases to NoSQL databases, and those triggers are triggered every minute. So every minute DynamoDB will be updated with real-time occupancy data of parking lots, and I will be covering how DynamoDB is connected, basically the pathway from the client down here to DynamoDB, so how it interfaces with Cognito, which interfaces with Lambda, which interfaces with DynamoDB, and also this route of the API to Lambda to DynamoDB. And in order to actually get all this set up, we need to establish some IAM user accounts within an AWS account. So I will transition to that right now. So here's the window where we, assuming you have an AWS account, would create a user account or an IAM user account. So by doing that, this is the IAM user portal. You can see search IAM, and these are the users here that are associated with my particular AWS account. So we have all the members here. This is a default root user, and this is me, Mohammed, Alana, McGuire, and Zach. So these particular users have roles and policies assigned to them that basically allow them to have permissions to do development within this AWS services. So if we look at the policies, these are a list of policies in which you can basically assign users permissions, and it's all written in JSON. So I made my own up here and I basically assigned this to all of the users, and it encompasses all of the required administrative permissions to read and write from databases, basically have administrative access to Cognito pools, which I'll get to in a minute, etc. We can take a look at one. And this is pretty simple because it has DynamoDB and it has a resource of all. So ultimately you have resources of any kind at your disposal, assuming it's within the AWS services capabilities that you have. That depends on the AWS account, separate story. And this basically has all read-write access, whatever possible access you can think of to DynamoDB, which is what we need in order to connect the client to the necessary data. So in order to actually have a user sign in and basically forever be registered with this application and have a means of remembering preferences and being able to log in without having to sign up every time, this is what we use, is Cognito. And Cognito is basically comprised of users, and this is literally the pool of users that have signed up. This is not actually a username that you would see anywhere. This is just an ID that is assigned by Cognito. They sign in with their email and user, and I'm about to demonstrate that to you. So here we have is the application where I can actually log in or sign up or whatever. I'm going to log in because I already have an account set up, so there's no need to sign up. So here, this was not working before there were issues with authentication, and basically being able to set up Cognito allows us to swiftly move through this sign-in process. So we have to use an email. And this is my email. And I have a simple password of, password 1. And now I log in. And now here we have the application. So this is basically all of the parking lots in the Tempe area, and that is the default right now because we have, well, first of all, this is all Tempe based, everything is Tempe, and where the majority of the parking lots actually are that T2 and Park Mobile provide. So the difference here is we got red parking lots, which show, oh, sorry about that. So these are parking spots that actually are labeled differently. So this is disabled parking lot 41, and these are your typical standard parking lots that you would just see in front of a grocery store or something like that. But they are associated with ASU and Park Mobile or T2. Here is a parking lot structure that actually has capacity offered. So here's an occupancy of 2,400, a maximum occupancy, I should say, of 2,425 spots, and is currently occupying, or there are currently 903 occupied spots with cars in them. So this is the accurate data that we allow now to be provided through being connected to the DynamoDB database, and that is exactly what I'll show you next. So as we transition here to DynamoDB, we can see we have two tables. Right now, there are ASU parking lots table, and the ASU parking lots table consists of basically all the parking lots that are given a special ID, and we call it the lots GUI. And the table is actually structured in a means of all parking lots. So each item or row, there's no rows because it's no SQL, if you will, is literally all the parking lots. And in this, we can actually perform a statistical regression analysis in order to predict future parking spot occupancy, which is what is almost there, but we are still currently touching up the algorithm. And if you take a look at this, you can notice there's a stream that's in it that is basically, this is the connection string that gets generated by AWS that is required to associate to a certain database within a given region. So our database regions are US West 2, which is Oregon, up here to your right. The items that are in here right now, this doesn't mean there's two items. This means that there are two times at which we took occupancy data for all the parking lots. So here we have this many items. We can look at it in JSON. And here are all of the parking garages or lots that have a given ID, and then these are all the different types of parking spots. Now I know we're not supposed to go into code and all, but this is very important to the setup of AWS, which was a huge learning curve, and it is required in order to do any research on any sort of parking data or do any statistical analysis and connect the client to the appropriate data and not misinform them, and ultimately to restructure the whole database other than the one that was previously given, to accommodate a more abstract and readable structure in code. Alrighty, so that is the presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks.